YouTube, how you doing? Duck Films here, and today we're going to be looking at the new Marvel Rivals 6.5 patch in-game. We're going to be seeing a live look before the patch actually goes live, so you know what to expect in the coming days. And if you like this type of content and you want to see more, make sure to hit that like button. And of course, if you're new here and haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're going for the big goal of 100,000 subs, which would be quite literally insane if we could reach that goal. But without further ado, let's dive straight in. So kicking things off with Doctor Strange, first they reduced the shield of Seraph shield value recovery speed from 70 a second to 60. So as you shield, stop taking damage. The recovery should be the HP going up in theory. I believe, if I read that correctly, that basically you should have more uptime with your shield now. Seems about right. I'm not entirely sure if that's the actual meaning, because how they word some of these changes is a little bit vague, but that's kind of the idea, is that now in theory you should have more uptime, if I'm reading this correctly. If I'm reading it completely wrong, you can let me know in the comments. All you will. I get it. You guys hate me. So what did they do to Rogue? Well, they increased the defensive stance absorbed damage energy conversion rate from 0.27 to 0.35. So your conversion rate is going to be relatively higher. So you should be doing a lot more damage now. That is something to keep in mind. And they reduced the cooldown of her Fatal Attraction, which is her shift ability, from 17 seconds to 14, which I would say is a relatively decent change in my opinion. This allows her to have a lot more use and, I guess, the ability to combo a lot more, do a lot more damage. But this is going to make the whole tanky meta a lot more annoying to deal with, because you just have all of these characters that just beat people through shields in your game now. You have Emma, Thing, Hulk, Captain America, Rogue, the list goes on and on, Thor, you get the idea. But overall, I think they're decent changes. Most of the time, you see a lot of tank pool, you see a lot of Magneto and Emma still being played, in Captain America here and there, at least in the upper echelon of players and, teams. But I think with these changes, it's going to be making Rogue a lot more of a bigger, more significant pick than we have seen prior. Now for Thor, they actually did some interesting changes where his hammer throw has a new effect and it now grants 50 bonus health, but it only triggers once per throw, even if hitting multiple enemies. So if I throw it, hit him, 50 bonus health. If I line them up, whenever it comes back on cooldown, I still get 50. But each hammer throw, you can see, grants me that 50. But again, even if you hit multiple enemies, it doesn't matter. You only get that 1%, which, I mean, I guess is fine, but I'm not entirely sure. Now, for Storm Surge, they actually changed it to where instead of getting 75 HP, you now get 50. That is your shift. So if I shift someone, I get 50. It is dropping the survivability, I would say, a little bit of Thor. But I don't think it's the end of the world for this character. I still think he's going to be annoying to deal with, regardless of whatever scenario you put him in. Because he definitely has evolved from what he originally was, like Season 0, to what he is now. He's actually a lot more of a useful tank than might some suggest. But you still have to worry about all the common counters. But regardless, so let me know what you think about these changes in the comments down below. So moving on to Venom, they're actually increasing his base health from 650 to 675. And with all the team ups and season bonuses, he's sitting at a flat 825 base HP, which is honestly insane to say the least. Even, yes, it was only changed a little bit where his original base was 800, but that's besides the point, meaning he just has an insanely large health pool. They also increased the Fist of the Abyss ultimate ability damage to bonus health conversion from 1 to 1.3, meaning this character is going to be a lot more survivable than what he originally was. This character was already super hard, super annoying to deal with, especially with all the survivability he has to offer. And with this ultimate change, he's definitely going to be getting a lot more survivable. So if you're playing Gambit, if you're playing characters that shred tanks, Wolverine, Iron Fist, whatever the case may be, this is definitely your season to shine, especially with all these changes rolling out. So moving on to Deadpool, they actually increased the healing amount gained when releasing Pop Quiz, his ultimate ability, from 30 to 35 and from 60 to 70 upon passing the challenge. Now, 30 to 35, not a major change, 5 HP, not the biggest thing in the world, but the 60 to 70, that 10 HP change for finishing the challenge, I would say is pretty substantial. 5 HP, hit or miss. 10 HP definitely does change a lot to what this character has to offer, so that is something to keep in mind. I think these changes not necessarily makes Duelpool insanely strong. I still think there's better duelists out there, but I do think these changes are nice to try to help him make him into a better character that fits this game. Moving on to Moon Knight, what they did was reduce the bonus max health provided by Moonblade from 100 to 75. So Moonblade is the right click, as you can see, right click Moonblade, and grants you bonus HP. Originally it granted you 100, now it grants you 75. So if I get an isolated target, for example, right click, I'm at 300. And if I bounce it, the HP goes up and I'm capped at about 350. Originally, it'd go up a lot higher, but thankfully the devs have understood that this character is a little strong, so they are taking those safety measures of nerfing it a bit. Was this the best change they could have done? I mean, not really. They could have maybe adjusted the damage as this kit, but I think this is a good start of what they should be leaning into doing. I wish they were a little bit more aggressive with their damage numbers and changing like that. But again, good start. Would I like to see maybe more changes in the future? Sure. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now, I stated that last one mainly because of the Phoenix changes. They only dropped her to a 250 HP character. I mean, it doesn't do anything really. It just puts her on the same HP as Hela. But the character has everything that you need in this game to be a successful duelist or DPS character without having to have any healers basically with you. She has self-healing. She has self-peel with both her stun, her shift, and her flight. She has hypermobility with her shift and her E. She can get to super advantageous spots with her flight. Her ultimate saves her life, does a ton of damage, knocks down shields, equipment, utility, whatever the case may be. I don't think changing her HP by, 25 changes this character at all. I think this character is still the same, still super dominant in the duelist section. It's up to debate of whether these changes were really significant at all. I think the changes do change a little bit of her playstyle. Maybe you have to play a little bit more safe, but at the core of it, the character is still super strong and still super annoying to deal with. But like I said, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Moving on to Psylocke. So her psionic crossbow damage falloff, they adjust the maximum damage falloff at 30 meters from 60% to 70%. I'm pretty sure, if I'm reading this right, it's a buff. I could be misinterpreting of what it's actually stating. No, I'm stupid. It's okay. But you get the idea. There is some damage fall-off change. They also nerfed her ultimate, which is good. So now you might be able to stack it a little bit better with healing one another, playing patty cake. Originally, it does do a lot of damage. They buffed it a few seasons ago to where it's doing an insane amount of damage. But they since realized that, maybe that's not the best for the game, and they nerfed it, which I think is good, but I don't think it really changes just how powerful the character truly is. But that's besides the point. Regardless, she is still, good nonetheless, because you have to be relatively close to do a ton of burst damage, which, again, I don't think these changes really change how the character operates or is played, but I think this is a good start of just how to look at the character as a whole. So moving on to Squirrel Girl, all they did was actually increase the projectile speed of the Squirrel Blockade, which is the right click, the stun, unleashing without charge from 20 meters a second to 30. So, pretty self-explanatory. Shoot it out rather quickly now. So, not a major change. The character is, is good in certain scenarios, whatever the case may be. It just makes the character a little bit more annoying to deal with, but for the most part, you never really run into too many Squirrel Girls. At least the upper elo, I would say like GM up, you don't really run into too many squirrel girls. Maybe the occasional characters on Araco or, you know, the really tight corridor maps. But besides that, you don't really run into them in the open spaces. You have to deal more with hit scan characters. But the character in close quarters definitely is annoying to deal with. Will this change be super significant? I don't think so, but is the change, pretty interesting? Yeah, for sure, but I don't think it's a life or death for this character. Now, this change I found rather interesting, and that's with Star-Lord. They reduced the energy cost of Galactic Legend Ultimate Ability from 3,400 to 3,100. Now, this character already builds his ultimate charge extremely fast with his Blaster Barrage E ability, especially when you're getting bubbled by Magneto, paired with a Gambit ultimate while you're ulting with Star-Lord, is a pretty deadly combo. I feel like changing it is a little bit scary, mainly due to the fact that this pacing of this game is already pretty fast with the Gambit in the game, but the fact that you get an aim-lifting character with ultimate pretty much almost nearly every single fight can be pretty interesting to see in higher level play or just in play in general. Is this because this ultimate, if you're not playing against an Invis woman or they don't have any counter ults ready to go, is really devastating. One of the best ways of countering Star-Lord ult is just clumping up as a team together, because it's a single target ultimate. If you're all clumped up together, sometimes it throws off the aimbot aspect. But it is pretty significant that this is a change coming to the game. But like I said, let me know what you think in the comments down below. So moving on to Storm. Storm is receiving a lot of changes, actually. So first, Weather Control, which is her shift ability. The Tornado has a new effect, which is the Wind phase, or the Storm phase, whatever. You get the idea. Using Windblade and a Bolt Rush under the aura now grants Storm bonus health, and the version coverage ratio is 25% up to a max of 75 bonus health. Meaning that if people are inside or outside of the aura and you start dealing damage, you slowly gain an overshield. You get closer and these people are inside of the aura, you actually gain a little bit more, which is pretty significant. And I think a character like this needs some type of survivability, because whether you want to believe it or not, a character like Storm, if she doesn't have her E, her, Goddess's boost procced, she is relatively easy to take out. And the Goddess's boost is on a 15-second cooldown, so she can get caught out pretty well. So this little change of granting an overshield, I actually like, because I like Storm. Storm is a really cool character, that she's a little bit of a duelist, but she has those supporting elements, which I think are really nice to have. So, I mean, overall, this change to me looks good. Now, following that, her other weather control, which is the Thunder form, which grants damage boost, is that under this aura, the Wind Blades hit reduce the Bolt Rush cooldown, which is the right click. So if I right click and I auto attack, you can see that it's going down a lot faster. Again, I think this is really cool because it's allowing her to output a ton more damage, which I think this character just needed in general. Then, following that, they increase the Bolt Rush spell field range from 1 meter to 1.5. So if you right click, it proc a little bit, it pierce a little bit, do a little bit. So having it, the radius increase is nice. Then the Thunder and Lightning new effect, which again, Thunder and Lightning is the both weather controls. And now is the ally buffs now decay over 2 seconds after leaving the aura instead of instantly vanishing. Before, you had to pretty much be on top of your Punisher, your Hawkeye, whoever you were damage boosting or speeding up, sitting on them completely, following them like a little puppy dog perfectly in that 6 seconds to give them that damage boost. Now you can pop this damage boost, you can lose track of them for a little bit, they still have that lingering damage boost or speed boost, which I think this character definitely needs, which is definitely cool, so that's awesome. But because of this change, they're reducing the damage boost for allies from 12% to 8%, which is a relatively big shift in my opinion. Yes, welcome to the channel. I say my opinion a lot. I think this is a big change, mainly to the fact that 12% was pretty significant. If you think about it, Luna damage boost and ultimate was 15, so that change to 12% is pretty massive. But that 12 to 8% is also pretty massive. I guess the change, or trying to make up for one another is that it's now at 8%, but it lingers for 2 seconds. I guess that was the compromise they were trying to come up with, which I think is fine. Another cool thing is that they reduced the animation end lag when using weather control. So now you can shoot, shift, and then instantly shoot again. Just like a half a second, split second delay swapping between the two. But it is nice to see that Storm is getting a little bit more love, which I am all for. Now, moving on to Punisher, they did a pretty significant change in that they reduced the energy cost of Final Judgment, the ultimate ability, from 3,700 to 3,400. Basically meaning you're getting Final Judgment, Punisher's ultimate, a lot faster, which is a little bit scary, mainly due to the fact that this ultimate, if Invis is banned, is a pretty dominant ult when it comes to all of the other strategist ultimates in the game. If you have really good aim and landing all headshots, you can pretty much tear through any supportive ultimate, especially with Punisher's ultimate. So I think this change is kind of good and bad. It's good because you're going to be dealing with a lot more strategist ultimates and getting rid of them quickly now, but bad because it's a game-changing ultimate, a fight-shifting, fight-ending, fight-winning, however you want to describe it, ultimate that could literally just flip a fight in a matter of seconds. But overall, I think is a good change. So again, you're going to be building it up a lot faster now. Let's see. Or not building it up faster, but it takes less time to get it, which you get the idea. So, I don't know. Now, moving on to Wolverine, and I honestly think this is... I don't like this change whatsoever for the game at all. So, they reduced the energy cost of his last stand ultimate ability from 3,400 to 2,800. I don't think this is a good change whatsoever. It doesn't matter what anybody says or what my comments say. This change is really bad for the game. The fact that he's going to be getting his ultimate literally every single team fight and just having this is a major problem. Because in a slot fight like this game already is, all you have to do is this frontline as Wolv and start building up your ultimate in Rage. Pretty much every single time inside of an Invis ult, you're just going to be farming your Rage and farming your damage. So you're probably going to be getting your ult 9 times out of 10. So I think this change is very scary for the game, honestly speaking, just because you get your ult so fast with the amount of damage you do to tanks. The fact that they're adding this is just a major issue in my eyes, in my honest opinion. I think this is very bad for the game. This is the one thing that I'm probably going to critique a lot, is that this change, even though Wolv isn't insanely strong as he once previously was, I think the fact that he's going to be getting his ultimate like every single second is a big problem. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now we move on to the juicy stuff. Adam Warlock is no longer in the wheelchair. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. He's no longer in the wheelchair. So, new ability, Adam can now enter fight mode at 10 meters a second. So you see he has an extra ability, which is the F button, and I can fly. It looks so goofy. Yeah, that's the flight. So 10 seconds. And you can see it's kind of like Angela, where there's a meter and a charge timer, which I guess is pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely interesting. And also Soul Bond effect. Adam can now hover and attack during his ability's activation or duration. So when I shift, I can actually just fly around. Yeah, that's very interesting. I think this change is pretty dramatic for this character's kit. I think this opens the opportunity to do a lot more crazier, wacky plays with this character. But I think it also hurts the game as well, because sometimes it's already hard to track where an Adam Warlock might be going to res from and trying to track soul form. But imagine you're trying to track this happening on your screen. Like, how? And the fact that... to say that I'm glad this character has a little bit more survivability is a big plus. I think this character, he has his self-heal. He has his self-heal with his Soul Bond ability. All very good. You can 1v1 a lot of characters, but if you get dived on by multiple characters and you don't have these abilities up, you're pretty much toast because you don't have an escape because he's relatively slow. I think adding these fight features are good for him in his kit, but in terms of the game health, it might be a little bit risky going for this. But I think generally a lot of Adam players or people who are picking up Adam are generally happy with this, so I'm all for it. Moving on to Invis Woman, there wasn't really anything. All they did was change the force physics ability, so now it's on a less cooldown, so 10 seconds. I'm not sure why they need to change it. The character's already super strong, but beats me. Then Loki, there's a quick, instead of having 12 shots, he now has 10, so in theory he's going to be outputting less damage and less healing, but it's not the end of the world for this character. He's still insane regardless. So, then for Ultron, they are actually increasing his imperative patch drone detach range from 30 meters to 35, so a slight buff to Ultron, which again, I'm not sure if they need to keep buffing strategists or slowly buffing them, but it just seems the kind of the route they're taking is that's what they're doing, which again, not too sure if I'm the biggest fan of. Then I want to talk a little bit about team-ups, is that they removed the team-up of the Fantastic Four, which I don't know if I like that, mainly because I feel like it was such a staple and iconic team-up for this game, and I think it was needed in this game, because it was the only one that really made sense, in my opinion, and in my eyes, but I digress. Moving on, we have, I guess, the new character, what's that, Bloodstone. So if I come down to her, try it out. Here's my team up, my right click. It does tick damage, and I get healing back. You can see, and it chips, it blocks vision while I was in range are healed. So pretty cool. So if we get close to it, should be getting healed. Yep, I get healed. So that is that team up. Then Rocket Network is Mr. Fantastic joins the network, which is kind of interesting to say the least. Where is this Rocket Network team up? Am I dumb? Don't answer that. Hello?
Here comes the horde.
Am I blind? Dude. I'm not cutting this, by the way. That is hilarious that I couldn't find that. Okay, so his team up. So, Rocket upgrades his BRB for Star-Lord, and Mr. Fantastic gets an astral jump. Yeah, we already know that. Mr. Fantastic receives an Fantastic, removing his elasticity limit and limiting him to actively enter inflation slate.
Beyond all limits.
Wait, what?
A futile attempt.
Wait, what?
Not so fast,
I'm so
friend.
confused what this team up does.
You're fantastically elastic.
What? Actively enter inflation state. Oh!
Fantastically elastic.
I see. I gotcha. Okay, so basically, if you smack somebody with this going, you can instantly hit F with this team up going. I guess that's cool.
Fast, friend.
But when I activate it, it instantly, like, I get a couple smacks and it instantly goes away once that timer is gone. I guess that's pretty cool for Mr. Fantastic players, so you can always be enlarged, but
That was unusually satisfying.
I mean, I guess it's cool. Moving on, we have the Thing. So the Thing is now in Gamma, which is really interesting. So Gamma, I'm gonna be blind again. There we go. Thing. So what does he get? Press C. I guess I do more damage. A big overshield of 820. The Thing gains Gamma Gauntlets, boosting damage and range of his Rocky Jab, and so dealing damage with these attacks grants a bonus health and maximum bonus health cap is increased. I mean, this is very good for Thing, but I don't think in any scenario you're playing Hulk Thing, unfortunately. I think it's a really cool team up, don't get me wrong, but I think in most games you're not going to be running this lineup because you still have to have a shield, unless you're doing some sort of like full anti-dive team comp, or you're doing a goat's hold with 3 tanks, 3 healers. But even then, I don't think I would run Hulk thing in a Goats comp, because I think there's just way better options. But this definitely opens the door for that option, but I just don't think it's still going to be played. But overall, pretty cool. Now, I'm very curious if this is the team up that I think is going to happen with this character. I didn't see any like footage of this. So if I build up E, can I suck people in? So yes, okay, so that's exactly how I thought it was going to be in the patch notes. So you do damage, you E, and then you... Huh. Wait.
That much closer. Our enemies are near.
I mean, overall, these characters are both super meta, so I think it's good. But that seems kind of crazy. You're like a mini Groot Angela ult. Oh, I was gonna see if we could somehow animation it. Maybe you can animation cancel this. I mean, you can't animation cancel, but you can do it pretty fast, which I think is a really good combo. But overall, these are a look at all of the changes coming to Season 6.5, just to get a quick glimpse before you dive into the game. Let me know what you think about the changes down in the comments down below, and if you want to see the full patch notes, I have a video, and I will link the actual URL to the Marvel Rivals website if you just want to read them yourself. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.